All right, everybody, I'm Logan Alec, and this is my stimulus update for Tuesday, June 9th. So yes, everybody, it's official. We are in a recession, and apparently we have been in a recession for over 3 months now. Yesterday, the National Bureau of Economic Research, the NBER, came out and said, yep, the U.S. entered into a recession in late February. The NBER uses the traditional definition of recession to mean 2 consecutive quarters, 180 days of consistent economic retraction. Okay? This recession marks the end of the longest period of economic expansion in our nation's history. This period began in June 2009 at the end of the Great Recession and lasted over a decade until apparently February of this past year. The World Bank came out yesterday with an updated Global Economic Prospects report. It said that it projects that global economic activity will shrink by 5.2% this year, which would be the deepest recession since a 13.8% global contraction in 1945 through 1946 at the end of World War II. And it said that this would be the 4th worst global economic downturn in the past 150 years, surpassed only by the Great Depression and the periods after World War I and World War II. And that's a best case scenario. The World Bank said that that projection, that 5.2% projection, is assuming that countries, states, cities, businesses will reopen relatively quickly and that there will not be a large second wave of coronavirus that will cause more shutdowns, okay? So those projections are a best case scenario. But if there is a recession, don't tell the stock market about it, because yesterday the S&P 500 recovered all of its losses that it suffered earlier this year and exceeded the price level it was at the end of 2019. We knew there was a big dip in the stock market, crash earlier this year due to COVID-19. Since then, the stock market has gone up very quickly, and now it has officially surpassed, well, as of yesterday, it surpassed its 2019 levels at the end of 2019. Now, that's so interesting to me. And like I've said on the channel before, don't let anyone tell you that the stock market is a good indicator of the economy, how the average American is doing. As I've talked about before, the S&P 500 is not only representative of some of the largest companies on the stock market in the country, but really it's weighted to the largest companies that have the largest market capitalizations. Okay, Facebook, Apple, Google, or Alphabet, whatever you want to call it, Microsoft, right? It's heavily weighted to the largest of the largest, right? So it's really an indicator, in some respects, of how good those companies are doing right now, not the economy as a whole. Okay. In rent. That said, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York came out yesterday with its survey of consumer expectations, and the results basically mirrored the jobs report in some respect. According to the report, consumers were more optimistic in May than in April about the labor market, about finding jobs, about job loss expectations, and about spending habits. So that would be expected, right? More people were back to work in May than in April, so we would expect that overall consumers would generally be more positive in May than in April. So what does this all mean for more stimulus, right? Well, yesterday, White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett was on Squawk Box, and he said that the odds of there being a Phase 4 deal are really close to 100%. He's basically saying, yes, there will be another relief bill. There will be another stimulus bill. But he did say this: we had a really good month of jobs numbers. If we get another month like that, like May in June, then I think it would absolutely affect the things that we pursue in July in the Phase 4 deal. So Republicans are saying, look, May was great. We want to see another jobs report. We want to see what June looks like, right? Because that will shape their mindset of what will be in the next relief bill. So, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks like July, right, and probably after the July 4th holiday that the Senate takes is when a vote will happen on the next relief bill. Okay, if you know they have that long recess in August, so I'm thinking that the Senate will take these matters up after the July 4th holiday. That is consistent with what many Republican Senate leaders said yesterday. John Thune, the number 2 Republican senator, I've talked about him before on the channel, told reporters that he expected the next relief bill to pass in July, but not before the July 4th break. Okay. Roy Blunt, another member of Senate Republican leadership, said he expected the timing for the next package would be the end of July. That's my sense of when we will, and frankly, my sense of when we'll have all the information we need to put the next bill together. Senator John Cornyn, who's an advisor to Mitch McConnell, said we'll probably take up the next installment in the July 4th timeframe. Someone asked him if that means after the 2-week July 4th break. Cornyn said, I think that's probably likely. Okay? So unfortunately, right, and I expressed a lot of frustration about this a couple weeks ago, it appears that the Senate is still taking its wait-and-see approach and isn't in any rush to take up another coronavirus spending bill anytime soon. Okay? That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. In fact, signs are pretty good that another relief bill will happen, but the details of what's going to be in that bill and the timeline of when it would be passed looks like it's going to be over a month from now, okay, unfortunately. What was the big news in Congress yesterday? Well, yesterday, Democrats in both the House and the Senate released the Justice in Policing Act. Okay, so that's what they've been working on. So what would this do? It's a long bill and kind of similar to the HEROES. It's not as long as the HEROES Act. This bill is 100-some pages, I think. But kind of similar to the HEROES Act, there's a lot of things in there that Democrats are really pushing for. They know that this bill will not pass the Republican Senate. I mean, they haven't even voted in the House on it yet, but they know that even if it passes the House, it will not pass the Republican-held Senate. Okay, so it's one of those things where it's like, hey, here's all the ideas we want, but they know there's going to be some negotiation back and forth. But what is in this bill? Well, it would ban police chokeholds. Okay. It would prohibit no-knock warrants in drug cases like the one where Breonna Taylor was killed. It would create a registry to track records of officer misconduct, discipline, and termination. They also want to lower the standard for qualified immunity, which keeps police officers, which gives them heavy protections, okay, from being sued civilly, for example, by the family of someone they killed. It would also give the Department of Justice more powers to investigate police misconduct, and for the first time ever, it calls for lynching to be made a federal crime. The House Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing on police brutality tomorrow. George Floyd's brother is expected to testify. Okay. House Democrats hope to pass the bill in the House by the end of this month, but like I said, it's unlikely to pass the GOP-held Senate. That said, I do think that there are some things in here, or I hope that there are some things in here that Senate Republicans will be willing to adopt. For example, some of the stuff is no-brainer, right, in my opinion. The ban on chokeholds, declaring lynching a federal crime, right, some kind of better reporting, right, to make sure that officers who get in trouble and who are disciplined are held to higher standards. I think there's some things in there that Republicans will go for, especially in light of everything that's going on. In fact, one Republican member of the House said anonymously, this incident, speaking of course of George Floyd, woke everybody up. We have a historic opportunity to get something real, meaningful, and bipartisan done. Okay, so that is a Republican. I think that the police reform will dominate congressional discussions for the rest of the month, and that the Senate will pick up the stimulus bill next month, or come up with a stimulus bill, debate about stimulus, and hopefully vote on a stimulus bill by the end of next month. That seems to be what the signs are pointing to right now. I'll be sure to keep you updated. Thank you so much for listening, and be sure to subscribe if you have not subscribed already. Bye-bye.